Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Movie Critic Rob here with the Movie Channel, and I thought that I would, in the midst of all the reviews I've been doing, and I'm planning on going to see God's Not Dead 2 sometime this upcoming week, but I thought I'd take a break with all the reviews that I've been doing and kind of address something that has been that has had the internet sphere up a storm in the last few weeks. Now, if you've noticed, and if you've been online, and if you're a comic book fan like myself, and a comic book movie fan like myself, you've no doubt seen the reviews for Civil War that have hit the net. And of course, this has prompted some people, some of the DC hardcore fans, to say that the reviewer community at large is biased to Marvel, and that Marvel has somehow paid off all of these reviewers. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Marvel and I'm a fan of DC. I, to this day, say that there is no greater film as far as comic book movies are concerned, and I'd put it as one of my top films of all time, The Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight is one of the best comic book films of all time, and it's just amazing for reasons that I will probably do in a second viewing review somewhere down the road. Now, if you have not seen any of my videos and you're just coming into my channel, you will no doubt know, well, you won't know, that I didn't very much like Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And I have my reasons, and I actually did a review for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. But I'm going to give you a rundown of why. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was pitched as the start of a universe. Not only was it pitched as the start of a universe, it was pitched as the Clash of Titans. Now, growing up, I think most of you can attest to this fact. Well, maybe not now if you've grown up sometime within the last 8 years, and the last 8 years has been your childhood. You've probably known Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and Hulk more than you have Batman and Superman. But those before you have probably grown up with Batman and with Superman all of their lives and know Batman and Superman instantly, unlike Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk, which have come into the mainstream conscience about 8 years ago, thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, Zack Snyder and some of the people over at DC Entertainment and Warner Brothers have, during the course of hyping up Batman v Superman, trashed Marvel films repeatedly, with Zack Snyder saying that Ant-Man was flavor of the week. Now, I'm not saying Ant-Man was the best thing, but it was funny and it was a good movie. It was a good, solid film. So, naturally, if they're going to bash the Marvel formula, and if they're going to go out of their way to say that their movie is the best thing since sliced bread, then I'm sorry, but the expectations are going to be that this movie is the best thing since sliced bread. Because here's the thing. If you hype a movie a certain way, then the audience expectation that have seen the hype going into the movie are going to go in there with that expectation. I'm going to draw a contrast here. If most of you may like or may not like the Michael Bay Transformers movies, I like them, but I take them as is. And here's the thing that Michael Bay has never done. He's never openly gone and bashed another artsy film because they make his movies misunderstandable by the film viewer community at large, or they're like, oh, they're just too artsy. He's never gone on record and ever bashed another movie. Furthermore, he's never pitched his movies as anything other than a blockbuster, and a blockbuster they are. They are an extravaganza of explosions, of CGI madness, and they're enjoyable. But they're enjoyable because they are hyped correctly, and they are never selling anything else than what they actually sell. So in that, they are very, very successful, and in that, they've made a ton of money. Contrast that, and I'm going to go against the Marvel Cinematic Universe here for a minute, because Age of Ultron, and I love Age of Ultron, But Age of Ultron was pitched as the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel Universe. And boy, was it not. Ultron was nowhere near Darth Vader, and the conflict was nowhere near what Empire Strikes Back was. Was I angry? No, because I saw the film, and I took it like I take every other Marvel film. I don't go in there with any expectation other than this movie's going to be entertaining. But upon original viewing, I did think it was subpar to the stuff that they had put out before it. I mean, mainly Iron Man was a great film. Avengers, the first Avengers, was an amazing film. Not a good plot, but it does well regardless. And there is a reason why, which I'll put the link to that video below. And it's the war between character-driven films versus plot-driven films, which I talked about in another video. And there's a reason why it does well. But it was pitched as the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it really was not that. Did it leave me kind of disappointed? Absolutely. But did it pull through in a way that I was not expecting, and did it give moments that I just thought were eye candy and just amazing? Absolutely. So I ended up loving it. But it never went out of its way to say, oh, these people, you can't, if you're a fan of these films, then you're not going to understand our film. Which is what Zack Snyder, Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck never did this, so good job, Ben, thank you. But a few of the DC people that were paid by DC went out of their way to say, if you like these kind of films, you're not going to get our film. I'm sorry, but the only reason why I didn't get Batman v Superman is because it was an editing mess and because you gave away everything in your marketing. So bite your tongue on that. Now, let's talk about the whole thing with Fandango, because as you know, Captain America Civil War currently sits at 100% fresh, whereas Batman v Superman currently sits at a 28% rotten. And I think it's all about how you hype and how you market a film going into the film and how you deliver on the hype that makes all the difference. Because Civil War, I haven't heard anything about expectation except for what I've seen in the reviews. So the people that are into making this movie, even in their interviews, which I've watched a few interviews by Joe and Anthony Russo, and as well as some of the members of the cast, they have said that it's a character study about these characters, and it is a testament and a conclusion in a way to where these characters have gone through in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm pretty sure it's going to hit a home run there from what I've heard in the reviews. But nowhere has it gone on record to contrast any other movie. Nowhere has it gone out of its way to bash any other movie. It has just said, hey, we're doing our thing, and this is our thing. And in a way, I think this will actually be the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because it looks dark, it looks gritty, it looks like the stakes are actually going to be there. And other than the villain, which a lot of I think every reviewer that I've read has said the villain was kind of fallen into that same Marvel chasm, that everything else they've said has been amazing and has been right what I expected it to be, especially with Winter Soldier. Now, I have not seen Captain America Civil War. I went to go see Batman v Superman once, and I left the movie angry. And the more I thought about it, the less angrier I become. Partially because, and if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I'm going to wait for the ultimate cut, which is going to come out with 30 more minutes of footage. I'm going to wait till that movie or till that version comes out to give final judgment. But here's the thing: as comic book fans, as moviegoers, as film buffs, as movie reviewers, you have to go into a movie kind of with no expectation, or with, let me put it this way, you have to go in there with obviously the expectations you're given by way of trailers and by way of word of mouth, but kind of take those and lower them a little bit. Because you might be disappointed. The only way you're not is if they've been doing their thing for a while, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you kind of know what you're going to expect, and you're always going to leave the theater For the most, for pretty much 100% of the time, satisfied. The only movies that of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that have not left me 100% satisfied were Thor 2, Iron Man 2, and by a nudge, Iron Man 3. All the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies have been successful. That being said, all of the Warner Brothers movies, except for two, which are Superman Returns and Green Lantern, have left me absolutely just in awe. And I'm talking about the Dark Knight trilogy by Christopher Nolan. They were amazing. And for me to say that they weren't is just nonsense, because they were. And I don't think any Marvel diehard fan can say that the Christopher Nolan Batman films were anything but cinematic joy, because they were, especially The Dark Knight. Now, The Dark Knight Rises had a few missteps, but it was still enjoyable to watch. But like I said, I mean, the whole thing about the fighting and the whole thing about, I've seen ad nauseum at this point. Oh, you have the DC troll and you have the Marvel troll. I am neither. I love both, and I want both to succeed, because if both succeed, then they're quality, because competition breeds quality, and competition breeds betterness. But I've seen just ad nauseum. Oh, you're a DC fan. Oh, your films are too serious. Oh, you're a Marvel fan. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess that you didn't like Batman v Superman because they didn't have enough jokes. Please stop. Please stop this. I can't take it anymore. I cannot stand by and just watch the movie-going community and the comic book community rip itself to shreds over films and over allegiance to things that will probably fail sometimes. Thor 2 was not the greatest film. Iron Man 2 was not the greatest film. Green Lantern was not the greatest film. But because of those films, the films that followed have been great. I always said, and I've said this in my review, because I think Screen Rant put it out there, and I thought it captured Batman v Superman in the best way possible, that Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is the DCEU's version of Iron Man 2, where it did the exact same thing. It tried to pit Iron Man versus one of its greatest villains, which Whiplash is one of the big bads. I mean, it's not Mandarin, but we didn't even get Mandarin right. But I think it worked okay. But it also tried to cram in a lot of world building and a lot of just these threads going out everywhere, because you were heading to Avengers. And I think because Avengers was so successful that you kind of excused Batman or Iron Man 2. That being said, I think that Batman v Superman is definitely at a disadvantage to Iron Man 2 or Incredible Hulk or Thor or Captain America, the first one, because we're no longer in a world where the comic book films and the comic book universes are a thing of the past or something that's experimental. Now we are in a world, we're 8 years into a world where a cinematic universe is very real and very successful. And for it, I think that the reason why it failed is because it felt that it needed to fight on the same plane as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when this is only its sophomore outing. If you remember, the sophomore outing of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was The Incredible Hulk, which I thought was a good film, but nowhere near the level of Civil War or of Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy. It was an okay movie. I liked it, but it was an okay movie. And I think that because it tried to put the cart before the horse, Batman v Superman, tried to put the cart before the horse, it ended up failing in that aspect, because no way was the sophomore outing of a studio that had just previously before Man of Steel put out Green Lantern going to give us something that is just gonna blow us away, regardless of whether or not Batman was gonna be there. So And in that regard, I think the criticisms have been unfair, but I think the criticisms have been unfair to Batman v Superman because they've earned them in a way, because the people that have made Batman v Superman have gone on record before the movie came out and said this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it has been nowhere near the greatest thing since sliced bread. If anything, has been worse. Now, I'm looking forward to Civil War, and I'm probably gonna enjoy it based on what I've heard. The thing's amazing, and I'm just excited to see, especially Peter Parker joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But as fans, I think we all need to forget this whole thing and acknowledge one thing: that a bad movie can bring about good things. And if we acknowledge the fact that they're bad movies, they can bring about good things. People did this, and I don't remember ever seeing The Phantom Menace. But Phantom Menace, a lot of people that were diehard Star Wars fans thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then they had to take a step back and say, this is absolute garbage. This is terrible. And then Attack of the Clones didn't help anything either. But it wasn't until they stepped back and realized that we finally got something that was mildly okay in the form of Revenge of the Sith. And now The Force Awakens, and then Episode 8, which who knows what it's going to be called. But let's, as a conglomerate, as a band, as a group, as a family of comic book movie lovers and comic book lovers, let's take a step back before we get into somebody's face on the Facebook pages, and before we get into somebody's face on the Twitter sphere, and recognize when something is not that good and when something is not made well. Because if we send a message to the comic book sphere, which is our dearly beloved comic book sphere, which for the DC fans it's DC, and for the Marvel fans it's Marvel, then they're going to make better films. Look, when Age of Ultron didn't do as well as Avengers, they got the message, because look at what came right after. Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier. Two of the best films the Marvel Cinematic Universe has put out. Thor, when compared to Iron Man 2, was amazing. It was a Shakespearean experience, which I know that was kind of weirdly phrased, but it was a great experience. Captain America, for all its campiness, was a great film and kind of captured probably what it would have been like to be that kind of a person in that kind of an atmosphere. So, and then we got Avengers, which was one of the greatest Marvel Cinematic Universe movies of all time, and the experience of which will never be rivaled. Seeing all of these heroes and all of these years of filmmaking come together into one and give us an amazing view of what could be reality is amazing. The same with The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. How many bad Batman films did we have to sit through before watching some of the greatest films that have ever been put to theater? We sat through Batman Forever, which was campy, but it was okay. But then what did we have to sit through after that? The just absolutely just blood-boiling attempt at something resembling a movie that was Batman and Robin. But what did we get after that? We got a great vision by Christopher Nolan, and then after that, we got arguably the best film in cinematic history. And that's on the DC side, so don't say that I'm a DC hater, because I love it. I love a good movie when it's put out. But I will also acknowledge a movie's downfalls when they're evident. So, look, I just want you to post your comments down below. I could keep talking about this till I'm blue in the face, because I've had it up to here with, just the obsessive fan base that is out there. This is uncalled for. It's a movie. Acknowledge and move on. If you love it, that's fine. If you think that it could be better, and I honestly think it could be a lot better, then fine. Leave it there and don't talk about it anymore. This has been the Movie Critic Rob with the Movie Channel. Please comment down below your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. This has been the Movie Critic Rob, and I'm signing off. And I know I said that twice, but that's okay. Signing off.